What's going on, Tamers? Welcome to DigiPod, the digital podcast. I'm your boy Varni with the boys Dan and Mike. We are DigiGuard United. I guess that's going to be what we say now, right? We are DGU.
We are.
we are DGU.
We got to say it in like unison also, like.
yeah, let's try. On three. 1, 2, 3.
We are. We fucked
DGU.
I don't so bad.
I don't even know what the saying was. I was like, wait, what? Let me wait to.
We are DigiGuard.
We are DigiGuard United.
Yeah.
DGU, DGU.
Super!
Get your loser ass out of here. Back to Digimon.
One Piece is the best.
Yeah, that's why you don't play the card game, right?
Hell no, I don't play that damn ass card game.
Then One Piece is not
One
the best.
Piece is
Digimon
the best anime / manga of all time.
You don't watch the anime. You don't get to make that
It's the
opinion.
best manga of all time.
There we go.
I watched. This is a Digimon podcast. I don't gotta go into my personal life.
I was gonna send you some stuff the other day, and I was like, wait, this man hasn't watched the anime, so I can't even like revel in joy with the greatness of some of these openings because he hasn't watched.
And
the
I
anime.
honestly,
They do have some great openings. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll get flamed.
Bro, some of their openings are so fire.
I hate anime openings. I don't ever listen to that shit. I skip them every single time.
Oh yeah,
right, let's move on, because-
hold on, wait. I legit would like. I was like, oh look, new opening like for Naruto.
I
you know how,
watched
like,
the
every
first time.
The first time, and I skipped it every single time.
Skip it every time.
I do that too.
The only opening that forever gets played, bro, is the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood opening. That shit is. I think even the OG Full Metal Alchemist. It's been a long time since I watched the OG anime. But that opening, fire. I'll sit through that every single episode. I don't even care.
Yo, no lie.
Moving on, because we have two uncultured mofos in this podcast, apparently. I didn't know that. I can't believe I've been podcasting with y'all for this long. I feel ashamed.
Hey, yo.
Y'all don't even sit there and jam out to the Digimon opening. And
you don't even read manga, bro. You're not even caught up in One Piece. You don't even know how good it is.
Hey, yo, Digimon on the other hand has some fire openings. I can't lie about that one.
That's what I'm saying. Y'all just out here like, oh yeah.
I never watched Digimon sub.
Mid.
I only watched Digimon dubbed.
I don't watch it subbed either. I watched it dubbed, but I watched the good stuff that mixes the good openings with the.
Said I watched the good stuff. Jesus.
The good. Anyways, this is that second episode we were alluding to. However, it is being recorded a day later. That's why we all look different. With that being said, it actually works out because we've got some stuff that we can respond to, not to flame anybody. It's just that we don't have locals to talk about. And so this is going to take the spot of locals. So on our latest video, the dawn of Tier 0, Beelzemon or Bust. Yes, it is very clickbaity. It was meant to be clickbaity. I'm a YouTuber. I have to make it clickbaity. Other guys, you guys will be like, maybe I won't watch this one. I need to incite the audience. You know what I mean? Seems like we definitely incited something. So we have comments. This is all from the same person. Deck isn't Tier 0 if good players play it. Only Tier 0 deck before Beelzemon was JP Susanoo, and Gabubond was hit. Ice Wall was the entire defensive backbone of the deck. So let's touch on the first point.
My fault. Go ahead.
Nah, you're good.
I was going to say, is he inferring that Gabubond was Tier 0? With Ice Wall?
It seems
no. That's because I said, I need to hate a deck in order for me to care that it gets in order for me not to get care that it gets banned or hit. Like I said, we hit BT11 Metal Greymon X, and I didn't get a chance to even hate the deck. Like it got hit so fast. But if y'all would have hit Gabubon during BT6, I would have been happy as hell because I spent so long playing against it. Because it was BT6.
The guy was saying what he thought was Tier 0.
No. They were all separate comments.
Yeah, they were all separate comments for what it's worth.
So
no, you're good. On that first point, I think it's the most important point. Deck isn't Tier 0 if good players play it.
Correct. That's not
true. Correct. 110%. I think that's facts. Which one of y'all want to dispute this one?
I'm not disputing. It's facts. Just because it's a good deck and good players are playing doesn't make it Tier 0.
I agree.
On Facebook, somebody made a very, very good point. They said a good deck being played by over 60% of the player base will always have skewed numbers. And that much has been true for basically the entire game, right? Because you had Yellow War Gray, you had Lord Nightmon, Gabu Bond, Jasmine, Blue Hybrid, Yellow Hybrid, Imperial, Sec Control, Metal Garurumon X, War Gray X, Black War Gray X,
You're missing
Grandis, Alphamon, and all of those decks are not tier 0 decks. The closest of those decks to being tier 0, which we discussed last podcast, was Blue Hybrid
in their format.
But and this is a point I think that Mike might be about to make. We never experienced Blue Hybrid or Yellow Hybrid full power, truly speaking.
I'll also say, I like my dogs in the background. I'll also say, not only did we never experience Blue Hybrid, Yellow Hybrid full power, we also don't play best of one format, and like there's just certain, I don't know. I think that has a lot to do with it because some decks like Alphamon, you know, like their meta must have just been so awful all the time because it was best of one. Like I don't even know if I'd be able to play in a meta where it was like Alphamon just high rolls you every single game and it's best of one, so you can't do anything about it. You just lose the entire
Or even
matchup.
like Jesmon as Prime back in the day.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Jeez, they get the combo GG.
Yellow Hybrid in its prime, Blue Hybrid with MDF. Like I don't even like. What do you even do?
Imagine that?
Because
like,
I don't know. It's just so different because here, like if I'm playing up against a deck, right, and I don't know what I'm playing against because I'm in a tournament, I don't know what I'm playing until their egg is flipped usually. You know, once their egg is flipped, I can go, okay, this is what I'm playing against, and then I can make adjustments going into game 2 if I lose game 1. There is no adjusting in a best of one. You either like you win or you lose. Like a lot of times, like you also don't like. I think one of the perks of playing best of threes is like I get to know what kind of player I'm playing against after the first game. Whether I win or lose, I get a feel for their play style, right? Like I get a feel for if they're a really good player, a bad player, if they want to play more aggressive, if they're gonna play back more. Like you get to understand how that all is in best of threes. Best of one, it's like you eyes literally might as well be closed and you might as well just be playing blindfolded, not knowing what's happening. Like that's what I feel like it is because you can't do anything. Like you just lose or you win. That's it. There's nothing to it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. Like even in Battle Spirits, right? Having played Battle Spirits last week, we did best of one for time constraints, and you know, on one hand, like there's a lot of skill that goes into it because you know you only have one game to lock it down. So if you can't lock it down and you make one mistake, that's it, you're done. But like in Digimon, it's even worse because when you talk about those decks, Jesmon, Alphamon, Grandis to an extent, Blue Hybrid, it's like you could probably play your perfect game and those decks will still pull out a win because Jesmon, Judgment of the Blade back in the day with the delicate plan, GG. Grandis, swing through everything, GG, unless you hit option insecurity. And that's unless they were playing the ADP version. Alphamon, I think that's recent enough that everybody should know. Everybody should know what Alphamon does. Like how do you in a best of one combat that? And that's the key. You kind of don't.
Yeah. And not only
you go aggro yourself. You don't even try play. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And not only that,
their deck lists look crazy sometimes in comparison to like
their
ours.
deck lists are wild. They be running like 4 memory boosts, but like, and that's a reason though is like I was just about to say like, there's not even coming back from a brick. We just got mulligans recently. Okay, Japan was playing best of ones with no mulligans. Like
they was brave out there, yeah.
Oh my god, I would be pissed too. Like whenever people like you hear about like the Japanese players or overseas players being mad, yeah, I'd be pissed about the game state constantly, dude. There's a lot of broken stuff that they had to sit through in a best of one format with no mulligan. No, I'd be so upset.
Yeah.
I'd be mad.
So let's talk about like what they had to sit through and why that comment, is relevant. For those of you who don't know, if we go back and we look at the ban list history, Nationals 2022, February, like the very first week of February 2022, Classic Collection was supposed to come out in December. It got delayed and release date got pushed back to like January 24th. And unfortunately, they still allowed Classic Collection to be legal for Nationals, meaning that Gabu Bond, the best deck in the format at the time, had access to 4 Ice Wall. And if you didn't play 4 Ice Wall in your deck, you were bugging. Straight up, no lie. Because Ice Wall, as you guys know, it's at 1 for a reason. It's busted. What else did they restrict with Ice Wall? That's when they restricted reinforcing, right?
It's also when they restricted MDF. And I
MDF.
will also say, I think that comment was saying Ice Wall was hit, which was the defensive backbone of the deck. And I don't think that that's why Ice Wall was hit. I think it was hit because of Blue Hybrid, mostly.
Yeah, exactly. So we look at Japan was on BT when we were getting EX01.
They were
on BT8. Yeah. So they had already went through the hybrid format, and their hybrid format was blue hybrid, yellow hybrid, both playing Susanoo with MDF, because the play was rush, like especially if you think about yellow hybrid, forget level 6s, Digivolve Jet Sylphie, recover, swing, die, and at a certain point, once you have 10 total tamers and hybrids that you can recycle, Susanoo and with MDF, so you're digivolving for 1, bottom deck all 10 cards so that you're not gonna deck out, swing for 3 checks, which is most likely game at that point. Like, and that was for blue hybrid as well, because blue hybrid was stun, 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 swing, 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 MDF Susanoo game. Like,
and remember, they were also doing sometimes double MDF for the completely free Susanoo, because if you just do MDF, I think it still costs 2, I think it is, or 1, I don't remember. And so they will just double MDF, free, swing 3 checks, and then they still have plays to do to like hybrid for game and stuff. Is crack.
Exactly. It's
such a brutal. I know I was joking last week about unbanning MDF, but literally the more I think about it, just how awful. Like, oh god, like.
We never experienced that, and honestly, like that's one of the hits that I say thank God we never experienced that, because I think that's something
so
that would have really turned off the American player base. If you think that hybrids were bad already,
I would have loved to try that.
You would have loved to try it.
I would like it for like a week, maybe.
Oh yeah,
like just
and then Mike would
week.
be like, I can't play this. This is so
Just
busted.
a week, bro. Yeah.
That was Mike earlier playing Chaos X. He was like, why does this get the win Digivolvings? This is so busted.
Yeah, I whooped your ass with it too.
As at this
and then I whooped you with Hunters right after.
You have to make sure he lets you know about that one.
Yeah. It's the little wins, right?
Hey, yo!
But yeah, it's like we never got to experience that for good reason. And that's something that a lot of JP players will tell you they hated, like straight up.
Man.
And American, I can't say American, English meta players, they already hate hybrids. They hate the idea of hybrids because hybrids were just busted at the time. And so hybrids with MDF Susanoo. So would I say that was a tier 0 deck? I don't know what the results were like in Japan. I would say that would probably be, but that was a Japanese tier 0 deck. And Japanese meta, we've said it numerous times, is not the same as English meta. Would it have been, a problem over here? I still think it would have been a problem. Would it have been tier 0? We don't know. We can't definitively say yes or no because of the best of 3.
Say,
but it's likely that it might have been, yes.
Blue hybrid with that shit, yeah. Especially because the American player base is so different and they like gravitate towards that shit. They're like, this is good. This is good. This is what we're playing. This is what 80% of us are playing now.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, 80% of us is playing a deck. Does that mean the deck is tier 0? No, that just means the deck is damn good. What makes the deck tier 0 is exactly what Mike and Dan said yesterday. Meta defining decks that require the entire format to be unbeatable and
unless you're
the only way you
deck.
win is the mirror and blah 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 and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, unless you're playing.
So no, if a good player plays a deck, it does not mean that the deck is tier 0. If 60% of the player base plays a deck, it does not mean that the deck is tier 0.
I will say
that's not the way
this:
it works.
if a deck or like Hunters or Beals goes and is like say a top 16 and like 14 of them is that one deck, we're gonna have to have another discussion about that.
But that's heavy.
I know. I'm saying
that's heavy.
Like top 32 and 30.
Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like we'll rediscuss that if like this region will have like, will it happen? I highly doubt it. But
I don't think so, right?
We just never know sometimes.
And the reason I don't think it'll happen, I think you guys would agree, is that like there are just, I mean, the decks have shown that they have weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like there's Hunters, for example. Like Hunters is a very ferocious deck. What would you say?
Every
Hunters
single
is mid-range,
keyword
right?
somehow.
Hunters is great, bro. I love that deck.
Yeah, it's like the ideal
What did I
mid-range
tell
deck.
you? It has the out to everything. That's why that's why it's good. It has
including
out
itself.
Everything. Hell yeah.
Including itself. And while that is the case, it has very hard counters in both Machine Dramon and Black or Gray. Doesn't mean that the deck can't win against them. But if you play if you were to play 10 matches and you put the best player of Hunters versus the best player of Machine Dramon or the best player of Black or Gray, and you compare the two, like it'll probably end up being like a 50-50 thing, because at that point it's just skill versus skill. Like the decks cancel each other out and it's player skill versus player skill.
I don't even know
right?
if I could say 50-50. So I think if Mega Dramon is in, if the machine, I think it's more luck based those matchup, like especially the Hunters versus Metal.
I'll agree
like
with
the
that,
Hunters versus Machine Dramon matchup. I think it's
the RNG of the
luck
game.
as like takes control. The skill matters too. Don't get me wrong, but I think the luck matters a lot more. Like, is the Hunters player going to be able to keep their tamers on board during that matchup, or does the Machine Dramon have the out? Like if Machine Dramon draws the out, it's the matchup. It's not even a matchup, I don't think.
But I mean, for what it's worth, I played against Mike with Black or Gray, and I Hades forced his board. And then I swung into security and I replaced the tamers that I had just destroyed.
No, you gave me you killed a U and a Taiki, and then you gave me a Taiki and a Watchmaker. So it was arguably better.
I basically replaced your tamers, and then he came out, went into like Damimon or King Shoutmon, played a tamer, and then a Rester Dramon, tucked stuff under.
Yeah.
Like it was just
so good.
It's just like, you look at that and you're like, damn. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? It's luck.
Yeah.
Like the security was there and the draw was good and you had what you needed. And there kind of is nothing that I can do about that. Like that kind of just, it is what it is.
It took your soul with that one. And then I think the next game, you Blackboard grade me twice. And I still recovered.
Yes, I did. I was wiping them, bro. I wiped them kids at least 3 times.
He was murdering those children. Yeah.
and he just kept playing them down. And I'm like, how many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love how lore accurate BT8 Blackboard Gray is, that he just kills tamers, because that man was an absolute menace in season 2.
Yeah, man. Black or Gray out here doing what he's supposed to do, but these kids are so freaking resilient nowadays. It's like, damn, bro, stay down.
You sure Mike wasn't just cheating and had like a whole bunch of tamers set aside?
Yeah, I was stacking.
I don't remember. Did you were you pulling them out of your hat or something? Like, did you go like this and it come down with a whole pile of cards in your hand?
But you know what's so funny is like that was one of the games that has happened. There's been so many games where I've been playing against Machine Dramon, and I know that I have the out with Hunters, where like I have the Tagaru and there's nothing they can do about it. They can't get rid of my 4-cost tamer, so it's on the field. Like, and I'm just like, all right, they just need to hit into a tamer in security. If they hit one tamer in security, I can play another one and I have the out. Like, that's all I need to do. And it never happens. It never happens. I just sit there and I get so mad.
Yeah, it's and it's a good thing about the Digimon card game, right? Like, I think Digimon is very unique in that aspect, and there's a reason that Digimon is arguably with Flesh and Blood, the number 4 card game, the number 4 selling card game. It trades spots with Flesh and Blood, because not even Card Fight outsells Digimon now. It's a good card game. It has a very good, like a lot of players have said, the resource management system is the idea of the memory gauge. It can be abused, and that's what, like, at the end of the day, that's what aggravates a lot of people, being able to abuse the memory system. Because what's the purpose if I can just, Cool Boy, Digivolve and gain back memory, or Greymon X, Digivolve but reduce cost? Like, it's things that are needed, power creep, but at the, that's the type of stuff that gets players aggravated, because that's what they like about the game. Even in Dragon Ball, we see decks like Beerus. For you Dragon Ball players out there, I'm sure you get aggravated seeing a Beerus player, because you're like, damn, they're out here ramping. They're at like 10 energy and I'm still at 4. One Piece with Kaido, if Kaido was even the littlest bit consistent, everybody being up in arms about Kaido, because Kaido ramps as well. Like, that's the type of thing that gets people aggravated whenever you have any sort of abuse of the resources in a game. But with that being said, I think we've addressed all of this person's comments. JP Susanu, Gabu Bond. I mean, yeah, Gabu Bond and going into BT7, it was still going to be a good deck, and you could definitely combine that with Blue Hybrid, but arguably, like, it wouldn't have been best deck in the format. Like, it would have been Gabu Bond and Blue Hybrid best decks in the format, with 4 Ice Wall, just because they're both blue decks and they both can play 4 Ice Wall. Right?
NPT7, like in Japan format, or like our format?
Our
I think it would have just been Yellow Hybrid still. Yellow Hybrid, Blue Hybrid.
Oh yeah, I think Yellow Hybrid would have been a big problem for Gabu Bond. Maybe not necessarily Blue Hybrid, but definitely Gabu Bond, because you can't get into your kill zone for your 3 swings with Gabumon anymore.
People were getting crazy in the US with Gabu Bond.
Hey man, we
playing the red
Lightning
package.
Lightning
Joust and tie.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I could see them getting even crazier and start playing ADP.
I hated that as a Secon player back then. But I mean, it would have been that much easier for me to do recovery if I was playing Yellow Hybrid against Gabu Bond.
Oh yeah.
But, it is what it is. Now we've got a comment from the infamous Lychee King.
Boy, the GOAT.
The boy. Lychee says, the Battle Spirits disagreement. I love it. Bandai won't ever get my money. They messed up Digimon and they think I would move to Battle Spirits for pricing, putting my money on Digimon, and make a point that Bandai understands a lot of people don't care about Battle Spirits, especially on what they're trying to pull and siphoning pricing from Digimon to put it on Battle Spirits. I think that's true. It's the only logical explanation. And it doesn't even make sense, to be honest. If you think about like One Piece, like they're definitely not doing that to One Piece, but One Piece is doing so disgustingly well because number one, IP, but like events are selling out. Product is always bought. Product is effectively being scalped right now. We don't have, what is it called? Union Arena over here. But I know it's at least picking up a little bit of steam in Japan. And it's just like, why? Like we tried talking about it like the last couple times. I think Bandai needs to do better. That was the name of that podcast. There's just, it doesn't compute as to why Bandai's pricing for Digimon has suddenly become so lackluster. And then here's Battle Spirits with $1 million in pricing. And the only thing that does make sense is what Lychee said. Hey, so we're gonna make this really bad. Come over here and play Battle Spirits.
I don't even know if that's what it, like, I agree. But also, I think it's just they put all their funding into BSS. Like, I don't know. I'm not like a company auditor or anything. Like, you know what I mean? But I would imagine that their card game division from Bandai only has a certain amount of money that they can throw around each, quarter or something. So they probably just dropped all their money in prizes for BSS in the US, and now we're feeling the heat of it. I don't know if it's that they want Digimon to die because it's a very profitable game for them still. I just think that they're dumb and spent all their money
Very.
and put it elsewhere.
And it's wild,
yeah,
right?
I think it's just that
Goddamn.
they're so focused on it that they didn't give a fuck about
Yeah,
our
100%.
Digimon, basically. But I don't think they're trying to purposely kill it, because I wouldn't be surprised if the next regional stuff is like super good or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be surprised by that, because like you said that One Piece is selling out, Digimon selling out too. When you try to go sign up for regional, it's sold out.
Arguably, it's because they took away store
in five.
invites.
It's sold out in 5 minutes. It was sold. They used to be sold out instantly last year, so that didn't make a difference. Same thing with the OZ Cups. So again, I think it's just more of. I think they had an idea and they were trying to work with it when it came to our pricing, and they just flopped on it. And that's really it. They dropped the ball on it. And I think we should wait it out and see what happens before we make saying that Digimon's dead, like people are saying, or whatnot. When the next round,
You sure? Because I think Digimon's dying.
shut up. So the next regionals packs that we get, we'll see what we get for those.
I think that's a good point. So I'm just gonna read this post from Facebook real quick. This was a theory proposed by someone. He said, Bandai was expecting Digimon to be replaced by the new set of TCGs they were planning to release, as Digimon hit the usual 2-year shelf life for a TCG.
Is that who I think that is? His dumbass comments?
I don't know who you think it is.
God, I hate that man's comments. I have a feeling I know what you're talking about.
I know exactly. Who it is. I hate his comments too.
They hit unexpected success, so the plan to power creep the game at the end of its life, BT9 to 10, left them with an unsolvable problem of power creep. The reason design changes to be so different at this point is because it was never planned to live as long as it did. And that's why now everything is so heavily tribal, and decks come mostly pre-built in a booster, with ratios being the only deck building aspect. Safer design, faster design, and less effort than having to test the wider card pools that way. The big changes in rules like mulligans and ace cards then get implemented as Bandai realize the game is still alive and they have to treat it as a fully fledged game and not a 2-year TCG product cycle.
Nah, I just
That
think
was
he's
his
an
theory.
idiot because, like, I get it. It's easy to think that way if you've never played multiple card games, but every card game has archetypes. And if you've ever played a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh, where it thrives off of only having archetypes, there are very, 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 very few decks in Yu-Gi-Oh that aren't archetype based. I don't even know if I can name them because that's how little. Like Chainburn comes to mind. That's like it. Dan, I don't know. You probably know some, but like in current Yu-Gi-Oh,
That's a whole archetype right there. But
yeah,
but that's such a oh god, a person. God.
And it's also dumb because
so,
how can you say power creep, right? BT9 to 10 was the power creep, right? How can you say that? That's like a US person thinking and saying, because the power creep has been there the whole time. It's how the game progressed naturally. And BT8, when it was yellow hybrid full power with MDF still in Japan, like when you take that and then think about BT9, the power difference is not that bad. It's just they hit MDF when it came here, so it looks like a larger gap. There really wasn't that large of a gap between sets, like power-wise.
If certain decks didn't get hit, they would still be competing in today's game. Let's be real.
1,000,000%.
Like,
1,000,000,000,000%.
You tell if Tommy wasn't hit, if Jet Sophie wasn't hit, if MDF
Blue
wasn't
hybrid?
hit, if those decks were still around, they will still put in work the way they did back then with the new decks. So that's the fact that dudes had that stupid ass theory saying, they didn't expect Digimon to do well. First of all, why would they make it? If I'm a company, why would I expect my game to die in 2 years? If I'm gonna expect it to die, I'm gonna expect it to die within that first year, most likely. That's where you really know if it's not going to do anything at all. And secondly, God, it's so dumb. I just don't want to talk about it.
There's a lot. Comment.
the thing about this power creep that they expected BT9 to be what, like the last set or something like that. They said some nonsense.
BT10, it was
BT10, and that is different. They added all these new because it's like, yo, come on, like it's it's such a bad. Take. They knew what they're doing because they've had people clamoring for Digimon games for like the longest. So when they thought that they can make a TCG again, because remember, Digimon has gone through cycles of like multiple games that died, but there's a huge difference between those games and this game. One, some of those were more just like collectible card games, not even like really a card game, like especially the
OG one.
Called? No, the OG was actually a playable game. It was terribly designed though. Like, because I played it, I was like, this shit makes no sense. Like that lasted like actually like a couple years, like not just a one year done or 2 year done. I think it was like 3 years ish. Maybe.
I think it was 6 sets that came out for that first card game.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know
it lasted a bit, but because the game never became big over here, because at the same time you have Pokemon. Pokemon was way easier to understand. Pokemon was such an easier game compared to Digimon. Like anybody would have played Pokemon over Digimon, even if you're a hardcore Digimon fan.
Yeah,
and you're into
especially in the 90s, bro. In the 90s with Pokemon craze, bro.
All right.
I think it's the most profitable thing of all time for Nintendo is Pokemon.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, Pokemon is, if it wasn't for Pokemon, Nintendo.
So when they got to, Digimon TCG 2020 and they made the game, they made a game that was more like a real ass trading card game, and it made sense. Everything, resource management, memory, the security, everything about it was, it made sense. And it was like very lore heavy in a sense. You're Digivolving your Digimon from a baby to a rookie to a champion, ultimate, mega, ultra, if you want to consider level 7s ultras, or mega 2s, whatever. So like they had so much to it. So I don't think it was just like they thought it was gonna be a 2-year thing, and then once they're gonna drop one piece, they're like, it's over. I don't think that was even a thing. I don't really think they were like I think they had it planned out where they was like, all right, let's see how well this first year goes, and then we're gonna keep on going, keep pushing. I'd like, because you saw how much product we got now. Now it was like a surplus where it doesn't even like, we don't even struggle to get product. You know what I'm saying? And we did prior, was it because of COVID? A bit COVID. But like even like when like COVID was kind of dying off, it was still hard to get product. But like now we're at a point where like product is like a surplus, it feels like. And it's so much easier to get.
Yeah, it's I think Bandai always they always have to be aware of how near and dear a franchise like Digimon is, right? I think the fact that people have clamored for a game, like people who are Digi diehards, they clamored for Survive for the longest time. Because if you remember, when was Survive supposed to come out? What?
2018?
I want to say 2020. 2018.
I think
like damn.
It was, or 2019.
It's a long time.
It's been in the works for a while. And like I don't know who, like but basically like the president or whatever for Digimon Bandai, blah blah blah, he basically acknowledged that fans were waiting for this game, and that the fans of Digimon love Digimon. And so that's why they went and they trudged through to bring Survive out. So that you look at like what has Digimon gone through since the game was dropped. New anime, new like we have this web novel. There's like all the figures and stuff that Bandai prints.
Even before that,
like there's just
before the TCG had dropped in 2020, Cyber Sleuth was such a hit with the US market, Japan, everything. That's what like brought back Digimon heavy. Because if it wasn't for the Cyber Sleuth games, Digimon was still, we probably wouldn't even have the Digimon TCG, honestly, because of how well it did in the States, how well it did in Japan. Like that game was considered like straight up, that was like that was the end of the PS3 era. No, PS4.
Yeah.
PS4.
Which game are we talking about? I didn't hear.
So I was saying it was before like you were saying all this like the Digimon craze. It started before the TCG with Cyber Sleuth.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when Cyber Sleuth came out, it was such a hit. It was such a big hit.
What was that? 2014?
Cyber Sleuth
2014?
Redigitize.
No, Redigitize wasn't
Like-
a thing. Redigitize was a
2014?
while. So it was
that
New
was-
World.
okay.
New World Order, whatever it's called.
Hella good game though.
Next
Order.
Oh yeah.
So-
Okay. Yeah.
Cyber Sleuth 1, and then Cyber Sleuth 1, it was like broke records for Digimon games and whatever, blah blah. And then you had Cyber Sleuth 2 that came out, and then New Order that came out right after that. And that was like, that's when the Bandai was like, oh shit, we've been effing up. We should have been doing things with this already, because they dropped the ball so heavy because they felt like Digimon died out. But it never died out. It died out because newer generation wasn't really paying attention, because they wasn't keeping up with it. Everybody who were the fans were everybody our age group, anywhere between
And because
25
Savers
30.
not Savers, Cross Hearts like fizzled
Yeah. So
over
like
here.
back then, so even before the Cyber Sleuth games or whatever, right? You had Crossheart that kind of like died out. It was Cross Wars, it was called, I think, for the States, right?
Cross Wars.
So then like that kind of was like, it flopped, right? It didn't do well. They had dropped Digimon Data Squad, the game. I played, I enjoyed it, but like it didn't sell well. It didn't do anything really, in a sense. And like a couple games they had dropped, they were like, they fell off, right? They weren't that great. They wasn't well perceived by the public and stuff. And then they dropped Appmon. Who would have thought that Appmon was going to do well? Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, how could I forget
And
about that?
that kind of like killed. That was like the reinvention of Digimon, because we're in the new age app, this that, and the other. It didn't do well because it wasn't Digimon. So like I said, then that's when they had dropped those games, and it was like Bandai was like, oh crap, I'm repeating what I was saying before, but like that's my point. That's when the craze started coming back, especially since now like our generation are able to buy these games with no problem and whatever, and like get them. And so that's when they decided to go do the TCG. TCG was a hit. Now you mentioned like that web novel. Now we have multiple animes. They finally did what they should have done. They redid what was it, Digimon Adventure 2020, and that one's more for the kids. So now our younger generation is growing up with Digimon again. You know what I'm saying? So now that's how you keep the trend going with Digimon not dying out.
The new Digidestined.
Exactly. And so then you had Ghost Game, which was supposedly like really, really good. I haven't gotten a chance to fully watch it yet, even though it finished. You had the movies that came out. You had all that Try.
We have a 2 movie that's coming
Try
out
was
soon
between
again.
Cyber Sleuth and the TCG. I kind of forgot about that. And that was like kind of like hype that's F for like old Digimon fans, like me, Mike specifically. Like we were hyped as fuck for it. And
hell yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then moving on, they just keep chugging. We're at a point where successful card game. We got the interesting web novel. We're getting cards off the new web novel already, coming out in BT14. They just need to continue the trend, like make new games that are good. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's how you continue.
I think it's
growing.
dumb. I think it's dumb to think that like I think it's dumb to think that a company is going to put their time and effort into a 2-year venture. That's like, hey, Dan, I've got this business idea. And Dan's like, okay. I don't think your business is going to last beyond 2 years, but sure, I'll invest in it. Like, why would Dan even think about doing that? Like, that's so dumb. Like, unless like he really, really likes what I'm doing. Yeah. Like, why would you?
Bandai even said themselves in one of the, I think it was the DigiCon 2020, I want to say. The dude said himself, he was like, yo, we're limited on the amount of money we're allowed to spend for Digimon. You think they're going?
I do remember
you
that.
think they're going to want to, do a 2-year project on Digimon Card Game, and knowing they're spent their budget's probably maybe like, let's say $500K compared to a different franchise in Bandai that's allowed to have $1 million or something. They're gonna want to hit it out of the park. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure they were planning, like, hopefully planning that it was going to last longer. Like, that's why they went all in. They made such a good game off the back, I think. I don't know.
Right. Agreed. Yeah, it's laughable to think that, like, on any venture, on any part, that Digimon was some sort of one night fling and it's gonna die out. Like, nah. They definitely, and let's be honest, I don't know anything about the TCG development lifecycle, but they have to be thinking at least 3 months in ahead. But that's very, like, if you think about it in terms of set release, that's maybe a set and a half. So they realistically have to be thinking about like 6 months in ahead.
Oh, they have to be like Huang Zero has said, when we was in BT 11 or 12, I think it was, they was already designing stuff for like 13, 14 already and stuff, and 15, I think, something like that. Like, I forget what the number.
Yeah, I think
he has said.
We're on BT 13 now, right?
We're on 12.
In Japan?
13, yeah. Releasing
13 in Japan, because EX4 is the next set for us. So yeah, they're on BT 13. We haven't gotten BT 14 reveals yet. And they're probably already done with BT 15, thinking about BT 16.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, as long as the stuff is selling, like, they're working on it. And that's because you're a business. Like, you've got to go, when you go to your investors, you're like, all right, this is where we're going. You know, this is what the current sales are, and we envision it's only going to go up from here. Like, there's no way that you're going, you're like, yeah, I don't think it's going to be doing too hot. And then the investors are going to be like, yeah, just keep printing cards. Like, no. But I think that brings us to a good segue here into our main topic of the day. Believe it or not, we had a main topic. We had a main topic. The main topic of the day is, and this is proposed by our boy Adrian, so shout out to Adrian. Are option cards obsolete? And I added on what constitutes a good option card and what makes it worthy of inclusion in a deck or not, you know? So whoever wants to take the floor, have at it.
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, no, I like to talk. I think that they are. So I think in today's format and metagame, right, what makes a good option card is if it fits within the archetype usually. Like Megadeth, fantastic option card, blue green, plays for 5, which is super strong. Fits right into an Imperial archetype. Their tamers, you know, you have a blue green tamer, your Digimon are blue green. It just works really well. Okay. The Hades Force, great card, fits into the archetype, does what it should do. How much does it play for? It gets like cost reductions.
It's 7, and if you have the X antibody in play, it reduces by 2, so 5.
Okay, so 5, that's what I thought. And then you have cards like, but those are really good cards, but only archetype specific, right? Then you have cards like the memory boosts or the training cards we're gonna get soon.
Oh my goodness.
Those are fantastic cards. You can put them in any deck. They're gonna do exactly what you want.
Okay, so why are they good cards?
Because they are generic and they fit with everything. They fit.
Look, it's because they're consistency boosters.
And I will compare that to like, there's cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Everyone's gonna play in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like,
Pod agreed.
Yeah, like
agreed,
or Upstart Goblin. Every deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! is probably gonna play Upstart Goblin. You know, it's just they're good cards. They're consistency boosters. They help you out. In Magic, you play fetch lands. You know, or if you're playing a high level Magic, you're probably playing Force of Will. Like, it's just there's certain cards you play, right? What makes a option card bad, in my opinion? Cards like All Delete, right? Now that I think about it, like, you have to get rid of your Omnimon to wipe the board. So you have to already be established with an Omnimon. And then you can return the Omnimon back to your hand, I think, and wipe the board. That's an awful card.
For 10.
For 10. It doesn't cost 0. A card like that should cost 0. All right, never mind. That would be busted.
No.
Well, like, back then, it wouldn't have been so busted because we didn't have fast ways to climb and shit. It was you had to build the stack, establish an Omnimon, which was costing you, at the least, it was 3 memory from Zort defeat.
Yeah.
and then at most it was 6. No one was sacrificing their Omnimon stack for that. And if you're already at the point where you have an Omnimon stack, if you are that screwed, you need to all delete. I can't even imagine what the board state looks like.
Well,
here's a good example.
Don Devi.
Dan, before you go real quick.
we was sacrificing our resort defeat so we can blow up, so we can't free Don Devi's.
I mean, that was a different story back then. We can't do that anymore. No. Not good, at least. But to Mike, to your point, like that's definitely been, I mean, that's never been a good card, right? But we just got a card in BT12, arguably is like, it's a sleeper card. I would say it's Gypped Particle Cannon. And that's because if you use that in, as you said, if you establish yourself and then you drop this card for 10, like, it's not negging you because you're not, returning your stuff. Gypped Particle Cannon, for those of you who don't know, is suspend all your opponent's Digimon and Tamers. Your opponent's cards don't unsuspend during their next unsuspend phase. So if you're playing, you court stuff and then they play some new stuff and you got some unsuspended stuff and everything is outside of your court's range, like you can't suspend down everything, you don't have game. Okay, you just drop Gypped Particle Cannon for 10. What are they gonna do? If they can't out your Quartzmon, which they probably weren't able to if you drop Gypped Particle Cannon for 10.
I'll add another good card from BT12.
But the problem with that, right? Like that type of card, because it's while you have a tamer with the hunter trait in it, you may use it while meeting the color requirements. In that deck, why would you even use it? Wouldn't even need it, honestly. Yeah, so that's why it becomes
not in the hunter's deck.
It becomes kind of irrelevant at that point. Card like that.
What do you think decks are going to play that card?
And anything else,
but like, why would you play that card competitively though? I just feel like it's.
I don't know. I
just feel like it's a lot to have to sacrifice. Like 10 costs too much, in my opinion. Like that's like bordering on like a bad card, not because it's bad. Like it's a great card.
I'll tell you a great option card. All right, Varni. So you are bringing on options from this set. Great Maelstrom. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So
but that has a built-in cost reduction.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about what's a good option card. I don't think so. What Gypped Particle Cannon can do, right, for 10 is great. But let's say you have to give them 9 or something. That means they could probably just out whatever that situation is most times, anyways, right? But something like Gray Maelstrom normally costs 9. But the fact is, when you would use this card from your hand by placing one of your blue Digimon as a bottom Digivolution card of one of your other blue Digimon, reduce the cost by 3. Meaning, return one of your opponent's Digimons to the bottom of its owner's deck, right? So that means you're able to bottom deck anything for a play cost of 6. So I think that's where we're heading into our options, right? Because option cards aren't obsolete, but option cards are being used less frequently than other decks, right? If I can make a 50 card deck that's maybe 48, 2 options, that happens sometimes, you know what I'm saying? It happens frequently with like Greymon type decks, right? Or used to before like X Antibody. Like if X Antibody was a thing, it would probably just be like 48 cards, whatever, and then maybe 2 Hades of good options, right? Hades X Antibody, it just that
it's an Archetypes card.
That card changed deck. That's a great option
the
card,
format, right? Bro. Changed how the game is played. Yeah.
Because like I feels like I think cards like Gaia Force are not obsolete, but their power crept to the point where it's like, do you use them? Why? You don't need it anymore.
Are you gonna drop that for 8? Right. You couldn't do anything better.
Right, exactly. So I think we're getting to the point where we've seen options that are like power creeping old options. So you have like, for example, Hades Force is kind of a good example, but like you're not just popping one thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to meet requirements to make it a good card. You can't just drop it just to drop it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know how to describe it as well.
I mean, it's just a bad card if you don't have the requirements. What do you just
right? Exactly.
Card. Yeah.
Yes.
To me, that's why I don't think like people used to like hate on Hades Force for what it did. It's like, bro, you have to meet a lot of requirements to make it feel busted. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not coming back. That's not a card you come back. See, at least Gaia Force, you have a chance to come back from it, right? You just play it for 8 and you blow something up, and that may or may not be the reason why you win a game at times. You can't do that if you're down bad with Hades Force.
I don't think that like Gaia Force is a bad card by option card standards, right? It plays into what Mike said though about like, can you like, how is this card archetype driven or like what along those lines, right? Because if you look at a deck like Grandis or Ancient Greymon, most like Mario's Madman Grandis list will play for Grandel Soul just because he can.
It's a good card.
And his Ancient Greymon list will play for Gaia Force just because he can. Not saying he does because I don't know what his updated list looks like, but like, what's the goal of the deck? The goal of the deck is to go burr, right? So if you fill out all your consistency boosters and all your searchers, you got all your key pieces, and you have like 10 cards left to fill out. In Mario's case, in Grandis, he put floodgates, and removal. And in Ancient Grey, removal, and removal of varying sorts, right? And I think that's like what you have to consider when you're deck building as a whole. There are cards like Trident Revolver. Trident Revolver is not a bad card, but it's also not like, it's not a fantastic card.
For 6,
it plays you a tamer.
Kill something 6K,
for 6.
I would think it was 8K.
Yeah, 6K.
Yeah. And then play a tamer.
It only kills 6K, and then it plays a tamer. So it's not horrible. You get a tamer off of it, so you got 2 cost removal. But, what are you giving up to play this card? And what kind of deck are you playing where you need this
Shine Greymon.
Shine Greymon's a perfect example.
Old school.
Shine Greymon can get away with playing it.
Old school, like Greymon decks sometimes played it.
Yeah, it's Greymon Tribal.
Old school decks, but like, in the what we're going to see coming up is you're probably not going to see it because Sunrise Buster is
a way better version.
Great card, 5 costs. Yeah, great card.
Yeah, exactly. 5 costs, play a tamer.
I think that I think cost has a lot to do with it, because in this card game right now, it's really hard to feel like to give your opponent any kind of memory. In BT5, you could Gaia Force someone for 8 and put them at 7, 6, and you pretty much knew that you weren't going to die that turn. If I give someone 6 or 7 memory now, I could die that same turn.
But even like back then, right? Like when Jesmon came out, right? I remember originally like, me as like, a predominantly red player or whatever, like that's a lot of decks I played. I'm like, I always have 4 Gaia Force in the deck because I was like, yo, why not? This kills anything, blah, blah, blah. And security is free kill, whatever. It got to the point where it's like, I had maybe like 3 Gaia Force in Jesmon. Then it was like, why do I need it? So it went down to 2, then down to 1. Then it became a point where it's like, Jesmon go burr, do everything you do to get that 1 stack. Make sure that stack is going to be your kill stack regardless. And that's how it was. And that's how a lot of decks kind of think now too. Like you don't worry about like the defensive aspect sometimes. I think it's the same issue with like the blockers. A lot of decks don't play blockers anymore because of the cost.
You give up tempo.
You're giving up tempo. You're doing like different things or whatever.
I think the decks that do have blockers.
Concept. I think we also got to the point that we got a card in Dexmon where if we were gonna run an option, it's like I would rather play Dexmon.
Yeah,
it's a body on board. It's if I have to play for 8 or something, I will, and I have a big body that has continuous blowing up effect at the end of my opponent's turn. Kill the lowest play cost, So I think Dex is what that to me, Dex was like an option card. That's why I thought of it as a lot of times.
I think another good option card from BT12 that's a great example. Archetype specific. This card it's pretty much useless in every other deck. It's so archetype specific, and that's Super Eradication Attack.
Super Eradicate, yeah.
That card is useless everywhere else except the deck it's in. And in the deck it's in, it is an awesome card. And it's so good because if you have a Chaos Dramon X on the field, you Super Eradication attack your own Chaos Dramon X, kill your an opponent's Digimon, and then they have to trash something.
Yeah. Because
of Chaos Dramon X's effect.
Even that card sometimes is like, do you even need to play it? It's like you don't have to play it at all. It's not like a card where it's like, damn, I need to play 4 of it. Yeah, I play currently like 1 or 2, I think it is.
Yeah, I think I'm playing.
You know what I'm saying? So like again, it's like, do you really need it? And then another one, right? Shining Blast. same concept as the other ones, right?
That's the new.
Yeah, that card's.
That's the new.
card's
For
good.
5
I'm playing-
costs, you may play 1 Marcus Demon from your hand while playing the cost. Then for each yellow and
and
or
then
red
3 of your
tamer
opponent's Digimon.
you haven't played, 3 of your opponent's Digimon get minus 2k for the turn, which ain't bad at all.
Yeah, I think that's probably what Sunrise Buster should have been originally, anyways.
You can tell. You can tell that
they knew
though. Like,
they knew that they
Yeah.
made a mistake with Sunrise Buster.
Yeah, like whoops, we made it too broken.
yeah, that card was stupid.
But here's another card that's a really good card, but like probably doesn't get played. I don't play Crossheart too much. Final Crossblade, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of cracked at what it does, right? But for 9 costs,
yes.
main, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. Then you may unsuspend one of your Shaman X7 Superior Mode cards and attack a player with it.
Yeah, I think that card is that card reminds me a lot of like All Delete, except it's a little bit better because you don't have to delete your superior mode.
Right.
But that card is like, if I already have a superior mode on the field and it lived and the turn has gone back to me, that is such like a win more card. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like, you just don't need it. It just doesn't fit the room. Like, I'd rather play something
It's like
else.
Avalon's Gate for Examon.
Yeah.
Avalon's Gate,
Solid card.
what it does is great. It, suspend something, give piercing, and unsuspend. So you can get 3 attacks in with Examon. If you ever need to play Avalon's Gate, you're probably not in a good position to begin with. And honestly, Avalon's Gate or Dexmon. Dexmon.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think, yeah, it's a great point. When I built Examon, when I first built Examon, I tried removal. I didn't like removal. And I went a very good period of time not playing removal in Examon because I felt it didn't fit into the archetype. Mega Death is good, but it did require you to have blue and green. And unlike Imperial, where you have native access to blue-green tamers, Examon requires you to have the green Digimon because your Davises are blue, or have like Examon on field because nothing else is actually blue-green. Everything is either monocolor blue or monocolor green. So like I went the longest time not playing removal, and the only reason I put removal in was because I was like, well, I don't have anything better to play on. I don't think I need to play 3 Dexmon, so I'll just play 2 Mega Death. And it worked. It worked for me. But those are like, that was a very personal decision at the end of the day. I didn't need to play. I could have played 3 blue memory boost. I could play 2 Kaiser Nail and Poison Powder. There was so much wild stuff I could have played in those 2 spots, but they were effectively free spots, and I had free reign to literally do whatever I want. Nothing would have been a neg at that point because I put in everything I needed for consistency. I put in everything I needed for my game plan, and I had an extra couple spots at the end of the day. Now you compare that to something like Black War Gray, super tight on deck space. You've got to play, your 12 rookies, 10 champions, 8 ultimates, at least like 6 megas. Maybe you play an Omnimon, but like that's where you get into like the flex spot. And it's not like a true flex spot because you're like, do I play Omnimon? Do I play another Hades Force? Do I play a memory boost? Do I add an extra X antibody? Do I add more tamers? Because you play Yuya, Tai, and Cool Boy. Like, there's less flexibility on that regard. So you don't even think about what option cards can I fit in unless, like Mike said, it's something like Red Memory Boost or Black Memory Boost, a consistency booster, or Hades Force, your archetype card. Cross Hearts, unless you're Merva Cross, you don't play options. It's all Tamers and Digimon. Hunters, Mike's playing that new Hunters card in his deck at like
Actually,
1.
just cut it.
He just cut it. And all he's playing is Digimon
Tamers.
and Tamers,
Yeah.
because the deck facilitates itself. And if you need, like, you have to ask yourself this question: what do I need this option card for? Do I need it for removal? Can my deck do that removal? And for me and Examon, that's how I felt for the longest time until I got into certain matchups. But for something like Black or Gray, you don't play Hades Force because of Digimon. You play Hades Force because of Tamers.
Yeah, 100%.
With Digimon as an added bonus. War Greymon, same thing. You don't play Gaia Force 0. You play Hades Force because you have access to a card that can delete Tamers. And Tamer deletion in the game is immeasurable in terms of how important it is to any
Tamer
strat.
interaction in general. Anything that can interact with Tamers. That's why Quartzmon's so good, because it interacts
I was just
with
about to
Tamers.
say. Exactly. And it suspends one on attack. It's Tamer or
That's
Digimon,
also
which is so
why
good.
Dex is so good, because Dex counts Tamers. You know, like,
Yep.
Exactly.
and, like even though Dex doesn't interact with the Tamers on the field, it still does because it reduces the Digivolution cost. Because there's so little interaction with Tamers, it just anything that can is huge, I think.
Yeah, so it pushes cards like Hades Force into the limelight. You can think that, you know, Chaos Mode, Lucamon Chaos Mode, and Dead or Alive might be decent because of that. The problem with that is there's just not enough support to build a decent deck around that strat. It makes Zort Defeat still a really good card just because of Tamer Destruction, but there are so many good Omnimons that we can play now. You're like, what Omnimon do I play? And that's also a personal decision. Mercy Mode, that's a good tech. You can just do Omni X and just bottom deck anything in your way and remove security. You can go BT5 Omni X and stop any attack from coming in. Like, there's a lot of utility, and you know that's the deck building aspect of the game. And this relates to what we were saying earlier about archetypes. Like, yes, as the game goes on, you're only going to see more archetypes because at the end of the day, frankly speaking, Digimon is an archetype franchise. Like, Digimon, like, they have their Digi-Evolution lines, but you know what the canon lines are. Agumon can Digivolve into Ogremon, but Agumon,
you couldn't like choose like an actual like better. You chose
Sorry.
Ogremon, that the one that like would never ever happen. You couldn't say Tyrannomon. You couldn't say Tuskmon. You could. I would have been okay. You said Seedramon for God's sake, but Ogremon, come on, disappointed me.
Agumon can Digivolve into, what did you just say? I'm
Tyrannomon.
Tyrannomon. There we go. Agumon can Digivolve into Tyrannomon, and that's a canon line, all things considered. Yeah. But the real canon line, you know, going like anime and the V-Pets and stuff, Agumon into Greymon, or Metal Greymon, and then War Greymon. And that's to say, you know, Metal Greymon, he can Digivolve into other different things like Blitz Greymon. But you know what the canon line is. So that makes Digimon an archetype-based franchise. Because yes, you have freedom. There's a lot more freedom than there is with Pokemon. Pokemon, you have these very set evolution lines. And that's one thing that everybody loves about the card game. That's why decks like Dorbic OTK are so great, because, you know, you can just toss Drummon and red good stuff in Dorbic and play the game. But it's still an archetype deck if you think about it. Ceratopsians, Tar, Dragon, Dinosaur type stuff. It's basically Dragon. There's a name for the island that I can't remember. That's what EX3 was based off of.
Well,
that's an archetype.
What was it? Exonic Roar?
Dragon's Roar? Dragonic Roar, yeah. Yeah, and so that's based off of like the entire dragon archetype and stuff. And you see like there's a lot of archetypes, and you're only going to see more. BT13, that's all archetypes. Royal Knights becomes a whole archetype, for God's sake. If we can see Royal Knights as an archetype, we will one day see Olympus 12. Or is it 13? I can't remember.
13.
Olympus 12? 13. The Olympus 13 as an archetype. And there are still other groups that can be gotten to. One that Dan loves very dearly. Dark Masters.
Hey,
they already...
Great Sovereign's deck coming. A Great Sovereign's deck is coming.
Yeah, that's right. In EX5.
12,
it's called Animals Coliseum, I believe. Oh, it is 12. Okay. I believe EX5 is going to be called Animal Coliseum. And it's going to censor around, you know, the 4 great sovereigns, and there's a new one coming.
So the fusion.
It's not a new one. Yeah.
Fang Lawmon is a fusion of all 4 of them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's like we're definitely seeing a lot of archetypes
and those
in this game.
The currently, 4 sovereigns. This is gonna be another episode 4, but they're gonna be ace cards also.
Oh yeah, they are. Oh, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be. I can't wait till we start getting
Hexablast support.
No, it's not Hexablast support. Stop.
It's Hexablast support.
Can someone like cut him off real quick? Like
Azulong's blue, and it's gonna be Hexalong.
I can't mute him.
It just so happened they were together previously. That was an accident. It was not. It's not meant to be together.
No. They're meant, baby. It's hexabyte support.
Sure it is, Mike. But like we're like people who complain that they don't like this archetype stuff. I'm sorry. You got into the
You're
wrong
in the wrong
game.
business, baby. Like
You probably didn't get into Digimon because you like Digimon. You probably got into it because you like the card game, and that's fine and all. You can't compare this to Yu-Gi-Oh! You can't say, oh, the game is becoming Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we're getting archetypes. I think any good game will end up becoming an archetype game. Because that's just, it's game design. Like, I would like to see you design a game that doesn't have archetypes. Like, maybe you play, is Commander like an archetype thing, Mike? I know there's 100 cards in the deck. Do they synergize?
Yeah, well, so Magic's different. Magic's like probably the one game. Like, when you think of like games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon, in Magic, they would be considered tribal decks, okay? So like Greymon Tribal, which is like the whole game now. You have like Black White Gray Tribal, Greymon Tribal, whatever. Like that's what the game has become. But then you have like in Magic, like a deck like that plays like Merfolk. It's called Merfolk Tribal. You know, like if you're playing like a tribal deck, then Commander, yeah, they have tribal commanders. They've just got commanders that synergize really well with other cards, whatever. But I think in Digimon specifically, though, like as far as archetypes go, like is security control not just an archetype? You know,
this is true.
Archetype,
it is.
You know, it's a control archetype. I don't know. Like that's how like when I think about Digimon, I think that every deck is an archetype.
I don't know if you
it's card games in general,
like archetype, because you could throw anything into Secon. That's the
but then it's like a Secon archetype
thing about Secon. I mean,
the fact that
is Cranium on a Secon type of card? No, but people will throw it in there.
But
you know what I'm saying?
You guys sat here and called Yellow Hybrid.
Yellow Hybrid security control.
I say that to troll you. I know it's separate,
but there are people that will sit here and say Mastemon and Yellow Hybrid are Secon.
They're different. Mastemon is way different, but Yellow Hybrid, you can put Yellow Hybrid security control. You can't act like you can't. You can put Yellow Hybrid Sakuyamon though. The thing with Yellow Hybrid is Yellow Hybrid was the core for all yellow decks. There's no good yellow core. There's not. Tell me I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. Show me a good yellow deck. It does not existent. Okay.
Rifle Hunters.
No.
Say it again.
Cross Hearts.
No, they're
yellow.
not. They're not yellow. Are you gonna call it Mastemons?
It's not
yellow
base.
purple.
Cross Heart has
Starmons.
Or Pikmons, sorry. And Akari.
No, you're wrong. Anyways,
listen, it's all copium. There's yellow.
So when people say Yellow Hybrid is security control, no, it's just that Yellow Hybrid is also security control because of the core. Like Yellow Hybrid was the core for security control. No. Yellow Hybrid Sakuyamon, that was a deck. That was a really cool deck. It's not security control, but it was still Yellow Hybrid, and it was still
Yellow
Sakuyamon.
Hybrid Venusmon, Yellow Hybrid everything. That's how it was, and it was. That's why Jet Sylphie needed to be gone.
What?
Arguable.
The only reason that sucks that Jet Sylphie's gone is because Bandai still hasn't made a good yellow deck.
Yeah,
I know. It's like they're afraid to at this point.
I don't know.
I think so.
Like you can tell.
It's weird.
You can tell.
It makes me mad because I've been talking to you guys about wanting to play like Lord Nightmon again. I never got to play it in BT5. You know, like when I first got into BT5, like into the card game, it was BT5, and I didn't want to commit to the pole spawns that were like $30 or $40 a piece at the time. So I wasn't really sure how long I was gonna be playing the game for, and then I spent thousands of dollars on it now. But that's besides the point. And I never got to play it at its height, and I wish they would give it some support. But they won't, and I think that that's a perfect example of a yellow deck that you could give support and make it a good yellow deck though. Like, I don't know why they keep fumbling the bag.
I think they fumble the bag with a lot of decks. They don't, for as much as like we get support for some decks, like, you know, I'm hoping that we're getting to a point, like especially with something like EX5 coming, that they're like, okay, we can slow down on the generation of new decks. We can give you maybe like a new deck for each color a set. And I think even that's a little bit much. Like we could probably do with 3 to 4 decks a set. Give us support for all of this other stuff, because Dan and I, Don Devi stands. We could use a new Don Devi. We could use Devimon Tribal support. Mike wants to play Lord Knight. That's an entire archetype that I suspected was going to get support with BT13. And they didn't release it. And they gave us a purple Lord Knight, which is a travesty. It doesn't even digivolve on yellow, but we digress. That's something that they could do. They could literally have an EX set called Royal Knights Volume 2. And it could literally just be support for Blue Leopardmon, an Examon that's Examon X antibody. Not that Jesmon or Alphamon need to support again, but they could. Kintourismon can get his second line and make him a decent deck. You can bring out another Craniumon or a Craniumon line or Craniumon X.
Their X.
Give them all X lines. Like, there's so much that can be done for just Royal Knights. You think about what can be done for the rest of the decks. Like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of good outlooks for this game at the end of the day, and that's very good. I'm excited to see where the game goes.
I'll just say this: just have patience. Let's see what's going to happen with BT14.
Oh, yes. Yeah, 100%.
I think
I'm hyped for BT14. I'm hyped.
Yeah, I can't wait to get ace cards and play mind games with people. It's gonna be fun.
I am hype for this Digimon 02 movie because when that drops, I already know I'm getting new Imperial support, baby. I'm getting something. VMon related, and I can't wait.
Mike's about to live the Gallantmon life.
You know what I'm about to get? You know what I'm gonna get from that movie? More Armadillo support.
No.
Armadillo Rush, best deck right there. Yeah.
Shit, they could even make Rapidmon relevant again. Rapidmon is such a good card.
Golden Armor Rapidmon.
Are you kidding me? There's a lot they could do. Yeah.
There's a lot. That all being said, I think we can call that an episode for today. Any parting words?
Wrap it before you clap it.
Before you clap.
Yeah, we changing it up, baby.
Wise words from a wise man.
From a high man.
I would never do such a thing, Dan.
I think
not me, brother.
People need to have patience right now. People need to have patience.
For sure.
Also, if Bandai kills this card game, I will be upset.
Are you gonna riot?
I'm saying this in game right now. In game, I might storm the Bandai headquarters. I'll be very upset if they fuck up this game.
Only time will tell. They have 6 card games going over in Japan, and I mean, it's somehow working for them. So we can only hope that they don't fuck it up. But at the end of the day, only time will tell. That being said, that is it for this episode of DigiPod, the digital podcast. So until we talk to you guys the next time, peace out.
Have a good one.